Thanks, listeners. It is time for Elko Live today. And on Tuesday, that's the day we set aside to get caught up in city news and issues in advance of this afternoon's regular meeting. We have our city manager, Jan Baum, joining us across the desk from me here. And Jan, what a pleasure and what a beautiful autumn, the first week of autumn that we're enjoying here.
It's absolutely beautiful out there, isn't it? So absolutely enjoy that while it lasts. And the colors are changing, and it's just absolutely beautiful outside.
We had such a nice weekend of fun fall events, and the city was host to many of those, meaning in our beautiful parks, places like that. So really hats off to the parks, the recreation crew, everybody who is involved and working hard behind the scenes to make sure these amenities are so well taken care of, Jan.
Thank you. Yeah, good kudos to the team out there for sure. They work hard, and the Parks Department, we just really do have beautiful amenities.
Yeah. So there's an agenda for a city council meeting for this afternoon, and the agenda is pleasantly light today. I think it's fair to say, Jan. So it gives us time to go over a few things, but probably the biggest bit of business on the agenda might be going out to bond for our water modernization plan. Is that right?
Yes. So this is a plan that we've been talking about for probably a good 9-10 months or almost a year. And so council authorized staff to move forward with this modernization plan. And the first step in the modernization plan is we will be metering the entire city. And it's a big deal. It's a big deal, but it is a necessary evil. We need to do this so that not only so that the people who are using the water pay for their services, and the people who aren't using so much water aren't subsidizing people who are using water, but also so that the city will know where their water is going. We will know if there are leaks that are using a lot of water, or and then there are some reporting that is required for the state, and it's called water loss reporting. And so they want to know if we're losing water and where it's going, and water waste and things like that. And so this project will help all of that come together. And so it is a very large project, and but this is the first step, is gaining the funding to make it happen. And so the SRF, which is the State Revolving Fund, they met about a month ago, maybe 3 weeks ago, and approved our project. And so that is what's getting the bond underway. And so what this bond is it's not a bond that is sold to the public like a regular bond. The bond is, in a sense, sold to the SRF and to the state, and they purchase it at a 1% interest, which is a great interest rate for us. And we will be borrowing that money at 1% for 20 years. And we will only start paying on that bond when we are finished with the project and have drawn on the last principal payments. And so anyway, so that's kind of how it's set up, and we're hoping that the project goes well. And then they also did authorize $1.5 million in principal forgiveness funding for us as well.
Oh, that's great news. And Jan, we should, remind listeners that not only this is not interest free, but practically, 1%. This kind of a bond it's not a money maker, as you mentioned. It doesn't have the stockholders and things behind it. It's to help municipalities like ours to make sure that we have the clean drinking water and sewer systems and just other infrastructure that cities across the country need.
Absolutely, yes. There's just not any possible way without really raising our rates substantially. It would just be so unfair to our residents to have to raise enough rate to pay for this up front. And so the amount that we are going to borrow, or at least that is out there available for us, is $12,650,000, which obviously is a substantial amount of money. And the loan forgiveness, like I stated, is $1.5 million for a total of $14,150,000. So it is a huge project. We've already gone out for bid on the meters themselves. It hasn't been awarded yet because we couldn't award until we knew for sure if the bonding was approved and if council authorizes the bonding.
All right, and that could happen as early as this afternoon's meeting, right?
Yes, exactly. So that'll really kick us off on this project.
Great. And we can have Dale Johnson come in anytime. He's our utilities director. He's been shepherding this project. A lot of research has gone into this. I know a common question, Jan, especially for those of us who live in the older neighborhoods and we don't have water meters yet. And we can see around our neighborhood, it's like, oh, there's probably a leak there, right? I mean, and these could be slow leaks. And this is all going to improve the efficiencies of the water available for everybody and increase water pressure and, identify these problems.
Absolutely. And you're right. So if people are on a flat rate and there is a slow leak, usually it isn't detected because they just don't know. But if you're on a meter and you have a leak and your rate starts going up or your bill starts going up, then obviously there is a leak there. And so then we can take care of it quicker, whether it be on the customer side or on the city of Elko side. It doesn't really matter. We just want to get it taken care of. And so you're right. That'll be one of the great benefits of having everybody metered.
So with the plan in place and moving forward, Jan, is there a timeline? Should city residents start applying for those water meters now, or should we sit back and wait?
I would say for right now, I would just wait. That we do have, the city has and has had for a long time a meter grant program. And what the meter grant program is if a resident would like a meter, the city will, the resident pays for the meter itself, but the city will pay to have it installed. And so that grant program is continuing and it will go forward. And if you would like to get on that grant program, then just contact the utility office at the city of Elko. And if you don't know the number, I'm sorry, I don't have it off the top of my head, but you can get on our website and find that phone number for the Elko Utility Department. And you can request that. If you don't want to request that grant program, once this modernization project gets underway, we will have a plan, and we have a contractor that is helping us through this process, and we will have a plan of course on how to roll out this program to the entire city. And so I'm sure we'll do certain districts and at different times in our big subdivisions. And there will also be a rollout for businesses versus residential. And so we will start rolling out that plan once we get the meters, start purchasing the meters, and then we will start that rollout plan, and we'll have a timetable, and we will also, once we get the meters, then we will have to likely go out to bid again for different contractors to install the meters. We would love to do it ourselves, and I know council would like it if we would do it as well. It just seems like it's usually done.
There's some consistency, I think.
That's the word. Yeah, more consistent with the way our system works. Mm-hmm. But with so many meters needing to get rolled out, I mean, there's thousands of them. I think it'll be more efficient if we do it with a contractor. So we'll likely do that. So yes, this plan will come in front of the council, if anything, just for information and full disclosure and transparency. And so we believe that the actual rollout of the meters will begin in early 2025.
All right, that was my next question. Perfect. And so more on this topic, and certainly it'll be a conversation that will take us, well into the months and weeks ahead. And it is exciting. It's progress for the city of Elko, and it's a more responsible way to use that precious resource, which is water.
Absolutely. And in a lot of our analysis, I know some people are nervous about the rates going up, but in most of our analysis throughout the state, even with the price increases, we are still one of the lowest water rate customers or districts in the state. So they're going up, but it is still a reasonable rate, and we are still much lower than many communities around us.
Right. And the hope is that if you are, say, a single family household, single person, or, you're an elderly person, maybe your family is not using as much water, you're conscientious of that, you should pay less. I mean, ideally, this is why this system is being enacted as well.
There's absolutely a potential that if you don't use a lot of water, your water rate could go down. Exactly. And so like I was saying, then people who are using the water will pay for the water use, and people who are not using very much water will pay for their share as well. And so it just currently, through all of the analysis that we've been going through, what is coming out in that analysis is that the few users we have currently right now, which are mainly new builds that are on meters right now, they are subsidizing the flat rate customers. And so we need to make it so everybody is paying their own way.
All right, Jan, thank you. Our city manager is Jan Baum, as we're going over what's on the council agenda, and that big bond issue is one of the final steps toward the next big hurdle, and that's actually getting those meters installed and working our way to a modernized water plan for the city of Elko. The council meeting starts at 4 today. The other agenda is an ongoing discussion under unfinished business on the cleanup of the property. There are numerous code violations at a place known as the Shady Elms Mobile Home Park, and there has been some progress, and that's why it's on the agenda. It has not been declared a nuisance property, but it's close to it if some of these conditions aren't met.
Absolutely. So not only does the property not look presentable, I guess, to the neighbors and pleasing to the eye, but there are some safety concerns at the property. And so at the last council meeting, their representative gave a timeline, and this timeline was helpful, and council asked for the property owners to continue to report to council on the progress of the timeline. So we look forward to getting an update on that timeline and see where they are. Just going through the property, there has been a substantial cleanup, and it's very much appreciated. And it's actually nice that an owner of a property like this is making steps towards getting it cleaned up, and we hope that this effort will continue.
Right. The efforts include eviction hearings that are underway for people that should not be on the property. NV Energy's been contacted about making repairs. There'll probably be an update on that. That was one of our planning manager's biggest concerns. I think Ralph Negron talked about that at the recent meeting. There have been plumbing to repair the sewer line, for example. So a lot of work is scheduled, and we'll find out during the meeting today if it's been completed.
Absolutely, yes. And we are concerned about the NV Energy portion. There's some electrical concerns up at the property, and we just want to make sure, like we said, that safety concerns are addressed by the property owner, and we don't have the public at risk.
All right. Thank you, Jan, for the update there. Under appropriation, there'll be just a bit of discussion for a possible acceptance for the grant award for the airport improvement project on rehabilitating the air carrier aprons. So something I'm sure Jim Foster will give an update on.
Absolutely. Yes, so this grant has been accepted and awarded, and we're excited about that. It was delayed a little more than we would have anticipated or liked, but it is what it is. And so actually this rehabilitation project will be postponed until this spring, so we can do the whole project at one time. And we were going to try to get it done before the weather got to, would impact it too much. But after visiting with the contractors and the FAA, Jim Foster, he's very thorough, and So we have decided to postpone that project until the spring. But it will happen this spring, which is still under the FAA grant cycle. And we're excited for that project to get underway.
Anytime there's a construction project, and certainly of these large magnitudes like the airport ones are, it injects money into the economy locally in addition to preserving that resource that we have. And I know every couple of months or so, Jan will update on the Flight Alliance of Northeast Nevada, Northern Nevada, and hopefully, anything to report on that. But things seem to be going pretty well in that department.
Yes, yeah. we after our event, we've haven't met yet, but we will be meeting on Monday and going through steps forward with the Flight Alliance and where we go. And the flight numbers are really exciting right now. Jim Foster was just telling us this morning, I think there were 3 flights last week that had all 50 seats full. And that's the best way to support the Elko Regional Airport is use that airport. And the more we use those flights, the more likely it will be that we can possibly get another midday flight or something. So I hate to even say it out loud, but that would be just so great. And so as people use the plane, it drives that MRG, the minimum rate guarantee, down. And the more that goes down, the more funds we have available to possibly bring in a different flight, which would also be another MRG. But obviously, if we have extra funds for that, we would absolutely like to add another flight to our community. I think our community could support it, and it would actually help the overnight flight as well. I think if we had both, they would complement each other very well.
Well, you and your team have done such a great job in elevating the issue, Jan, and working on this, keeping it in the public eye. So thanks for that. And flyelko.com, right?
That's right, Fly Elko.
All right. So another project that is injecting some money into the economy and also making a great recreation space. People are going to see some work on the expansion there of the sports complex, right?
Yes. So council did approve in the budget for the 2024-2025 fiscal year the completion of phase 1 of the sports complex. And what that will include is cement between the fields and walkways and things like that. And so not only will it make the sports complex a lot more aesthetically pleasing, I guess I should say, and more usable, less mud, all those things. But it will also make it a lot more accessible for people who aren't able to, that need accessibility. So I think that it'll be a great change down there, and that project will start on September 30th, and it will cause a little bit of interference with ball play down there, but I think this is the best time of year to do it. Ball play is pretty much finished. There are, I believe, some travel ball leagues that are using the fields currently, but it is the best time for us to get it done before the weather gets too bad and they can't do that. And so Q&D is doing that project for us. We're excited to have them help us out with this project. I think they're very professional, and I think they'll do a great job. And then we'll be up and running for the spring season. And I think that the players and the community will really notice that the facility will be complete and a lot more usable and accessible. So we're excited for that project to be finished.
And it's great because it's something that's also going to be paid for because it was in the budget for this fiscal year, right?
Yes, we have the cash. It's in the recreation budget. We've been accumulating cash in that fund for a couple of years for a big project. And so we're finishing that. And then we're hopeful that in the next fiscal year, we will begin some projects with resurfacing some of the courts around town. That would be tennis courts and the pickleball court, and maybe creating another pickleball complex over by the one that we already have. And so we're excited to have those funds as well, and to move forward with those projects.
Thanks for the update, Jan. Yeah, that's great. A lot to look forward to. And speaking of, there's more construction coming up with work that will be underway along Ericart. Now, I don't know if we're calling this like a link or a loop, or it does provide some regional relief for transportation, right?
Yes. Well, Hoping so in the
Eventually,
end. So
yes.
currently, this is a water project, the Elkhart water line project, and that project will begin, I believe, this week. And we're just really excited. This is our largest of all of our ARPA projects. This is the largest one. It will cost around $10 million. So it's a large project. And what it will do is run a water line from the hospital to the Southside storage tanks, water storage tanks. And so with a water line also comes the beginning of a road. It will not be a complete road. It will not be paved, but it will be a dirt road. And that dirt road will go about 2/3 of the way from the hospital to Elkhart Bridge. And we all know that link from the hospital to Elkhart Bridge would provide just a real impact on our transportation throughout or around the city. And so also, in addition to that, and probably more importantly, it will provide a second access to the hospital, which is absolutely vital to this community. And so we're excited to get this project going. Excited to see where it leads us, and if it leads this community into additional an additional project, which hopefully would take the road all the way to Elkhart Bridge and provides, some real transportation for not just the residents of the city of Elko, but the residents of Elko County as a whole.
And Jan, the city is so good at this kind of planning. I mean, the term is shovel ready, at least that's what it's been used for decades. But when you have these kind of projects ready to go, then when the funding comes along, you can raise your hand and say, oh, we have a project for that, right? So when the federal government has a tranche of money, and they often do, and they want to see it invested in something like this, in infrastructure that, sustains, the economy of a place, or certainly the health and safety, this is a perfect project, and it is the result of careful planning of providing a second source water line too.
Absolutely, yes. I think that the ARPA money, I know there's different opinions on grant money, but that money really brought some project into our community that have been waiting on the back burner for a long time. Those projects include the Cattle Drive project, which took a water line all the way from Mountain City Highway to exit 298, and that will be vital for commercial and industrial expansion on exit 298. The second project is the Elko Mountain Booster Station, and that project is also underway and will provide additional water resources and, like you said, water pressures and a second source to the south side of town. And then this third largest project is this Elkhart water line. And so I think that the city of Elko utilized those funds to benefit the entire city and expansion of the city, and like you said, just long range planning. And Scott Wilkinson is vital to that planning. He's been part of it for a long time, and he knew all of those projects were on the list, and we've been waiting for him, and he's been vital to the success of these plans.
Well, Scott, you're going to leave a great legacy. So when it is eventually time for him to retire, he can retire knowing so, because that's exactly what that federal money was intended for, to make investments in the future in the infrastructure and to provide that kind of regional relief and transportation and resources. So cool news.
Absolutely.
That's great, Jan. Great to hear that.
It is. It's a great project, and I'm hoping that, community leaders will partner together to hopefully get that finished. And I mean, I don't know, an access over the hill to Spring Creek is something I think the whole community is interested in, but it isn't something that the city of Elko or probably even Elko County can afford, because it's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars. But this is a project we can afford. And so hopefully we can bring it to the home stretch within the next 5 to 10 years. And so it's excited to see it moving along.
Thank you, Jan. Jan Baum is our Elko City Manager. So those are some of the big ticket items moving forward. The council meeting at 4 o'clock today doesn't have everything on the agenda, but it's certainly a reflection of this kind of work going forward. And we did want to spend some time and just remind people that we do have an election coming up, including 2 city council seats, and these are at-large positions, right, Jan?
Yes, they are. So Claire Morris is one of our seat holders who is up for re-election. And then Mandy Simons has termed out, and actually I was just visiting with her yesterday, and I don't think she was too disappointed about it, but boy, we've really enjoyed having her on the board. She has a great voice and great input, and I know she comes on the radio show a lot. And so, but anyway, and the staff really enjoys her as well. And so we'll be sorry to see her go. And there are 2 people who have put in for the open positions along with Claire. So I believe so there are 3 people running for the 2 positions. I believe that's how that is. And so, yeah, I just wanted to mention that I just quickly did a search on the internet for Elko County voting, and there are a couple dates that I just wanted to mention. You know, everybody's thinking about the election, and the close of registration to register to vote is October 8th. And so if you'd like to register to vote, either go down to the county or get on their website, and I believe there's a link on there to register to vote. And then early voting starts October 19th through November 1st. And then, of course, Election Day is on the 5th. And so be sure to vote. Exercise your right to vote. It's a big, it's one of our rights as Americans. And I don't care who you vote for. Just make sure you vote.
Absolutely. That's such an important privilege.
Wanted to bring that up. And then the other thing I just wanted to mention, we do have a couple job openings. We have a city engineer opening and a civil engineer opening, as well as a police patrol officers. So we have those openings on our website right now. And then another thing I just want to mention that is going up at the Snow Bowl this weekend is the archery shoot. And so that's an annual event that happens up at the Snow Bowl, and we're excited for that. The weather looks like it'll be amazing, and the chairlift will be running, and so it's a good practice run for the chairlift. And James Wiley has put in a lot of work into the chairlift this summer, and we're excited for the changes on that, and hopefully more efficient and just so anyway, so I wanted to mention that if people are interested in an archery shoot, that is up at the Snow Bowl this weekend.
That's great. It's 20 minutes north on 5th Street. You can follow the signs. It is a dirt road. Give yourself some extra time to get there. And know that chairlift is just a dream come true a couple of decades ago for some local business leaders who, they weren't thinking of themselves. They were thinking of the future when they put that Snow Bowl together, Jan. And here we are. Some of the original sponsors and supporters are still with us, but many are not. So it's always nice to think in memory of them and to thank their families for, what they gave to create that. It's a community recreation site, the Snow Bowl. It just proves Elko's love of skiing, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and outdoor activities as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a gem that we have, and we definitely want to utilize it.
So it's nice to get to use it in the summer for the archery shoot. If you want to ride a mountain bike, I think you can clip your bike onto the chairlift even and go up on, I think that's part of it. Maybe not.
Maybe for the archery shoot, I don't know if they allow the, the bikes up there while they have the archery shoot. I'm not sure.
That would not, no
right,
moving targets.
But there are mountain bikers up there all the time. I see them when I go up there just to kind of take a look. When the goats were up there, I have to go out and check
on
them
the
out.
Goats, yeah.
So, and that's another thing that the goats are still in town. They're on they're along the river. They're kind of by the Hart Path, and they will be leaving town, I want to say not this weekend, but next weekend. So if you see them on the river, that's fine. They're meant to be there, and they help us with weed abatement.
They're doing their job. That's great. Goat Patrol. So it's been a long summer for them, and they have taken down some really noxious weeds in some important places. And then everything we've talked about, or pretty much everything, you can also drill down and get more information online. The city has a really nice website, Jan.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that. So we do have elkocity.com as our website, and it's very informative. And so I just wanted to mention, especially with our talk about the nuisance and code enforcement, there's even a link if you go to elkocity.com and go to departments. And then there's code enforcement, and there's a form there that you can fill out, and you can definitely call code enforcement as well at 777-7210. And you can also email code enforcement at enforcement@elkocitynv.gov. And if there are properties out there that neighbors are concerned about and in violation of code enforcement or some of the city codes, we don't have eyes everywhere, and our eyes are the residents. And so if there are complaints or there are concerns out there, please be sure to either fill out the form and submit that, or email the code enforcement officer or give them a call. And we'd be happy to take a look at the property and see what we can do to get them back into compliance.
Well, thanks, Jan. Some of the nuisances are more obvious, and that could be, yards that are filled with weeds or trash, simply unhealthy places for whether or not the people who live there, but the neighbors, if there's a concern. And even things like parking concerns. If there's an RV blocking a stop sign, or it's simply been parked in one spot for too long, many people are not aware that you cannot store recreational vehicles or boats or other items like that for any period of time. You have to put those into storage or put them on your own property. And especially during the winter months, that can be a concern. Right now, even the street cleaner can't come along and clean the street with those vehicles parked there, so weeds tend to build up in trash and other things. And then in the winter, it's difficult because the snowplow can't come along either.
Absolutely, yeah. So it's important for different ways, different reasons, and people don't really understand all of those, how those different departments interrelate. And you're very right. That's the reason for the code, and to make sure. But like I said, that we can't see everything every day, and so if you hear people say, "Oh, there's this going on or that going on," just be sure and tell them that they're more than welcome to report those instances to the code enforcement, and the city will go out and take a look at it for sure.
Thanks, Jan. I think the community appreciates that. Thank you for being on the radio show in advance of this afternoon's regular council meeting. That's at 4 o'clock today. As always, Jan. Oh, good. We went over a little bit. I did not realize we did. We were wondering if we were going to fill today. So.
Right? That just happens.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you for having me, and thank you for supporting the city of Elko.
Absolutely. Thank you, listeners, for joining us for Elko Live today here on KELK.